All right, and welcome everyone to the Ginette Biro Podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and today I have Kevin Semeniuk with me. He is I like to say, the resident modern day shaman at Avalon Spirit, and he's joining us from a remote location, which will make it sound very mysterious and leave it at that. But we may get a little bit of glitching, so that's why I say it. But I'm so glad you're here today, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, I really want to dive into some kind of the underbelly of spirituality. And I don't mean in the negative way, but like darkness, dealing with darkness, understanding darkness, attachments, low vibe beings, that kind of thing, so that we can take some of the fear energy out of it, of that unknown, and kind of bring it to light, right? Because if we bring it up into the light, we can see it and we can choose what we want to do about it. So how about we just start there?
Okay, so it's curious because I get asked lots when I'm sending feedback from reports and that from clearings about darkness, and I've realized that I've had to be quite clear on the fact that most of it is not harmful in the sense of something to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really I'm not quite clear on what would be an indicator for you that there's something off, or excuse me, that maybe that you had, say, darkness attached to you.
So for me, if I notice darkness, it would be either sometimes I can see like or feel like there's something dark or heavy following me around, right? But I'm used to having beings near me, so I can differentiate the difference in frequency. But I would say the most common indicator or clearest indicator for me is if I'm in a reading with somebody and there's any kind of darkness around, I will get a glitch in the information flow coming to me. So almost like when you see a TV kind of like glitch all of a sudden, that frequency, it'll almost look like that. And so that's how I can tell there's an attachment. Or my guides are reminding me to, for myself personally, I guess I can sense it when I can't shake the heaviness I'm feeling with my own tools, or giving it to Mother Earth, or grounding it to something higher. When I can't shake it with everything is usually when I text you, I'm like, Kevin, something's up.
Yeah.
Can you check in, or can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be that, like, can't shake it feeling? Like you're just low energy.
Yeah. Like no
something's
matter.
off.
Yeah, something feels
But there's
off.
no reason for it.
Yeah.
There's not anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't change it. Like I can't change my mind, my mood, my energy, because no matter what I do, it's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your thoughts might be looping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah. What do you notice?
For my own self,
Yeah.
well, I clear, first of all, I just referred to it as darkness because that's what it was referred to for me, to make the easiest sense out of not having to pinpoint or nitpick exactly what it is. I also ask about beings or entities or, low vibe attachments or connections.
Mm-hmm.
But darkness as the overall, from like home and space and physical being, is just what they label it as, is just being darkness. So just a burdensome, negative, kind of stagnant. Stagnant's always a weird word to use in reference to energy, because energy is really never stagnant in that way. It's energy's energy, right? But so for me, I clear myself, and like probably every day, every other day, just as maintenance, right? So it's hard to tell. I know, I think I'm getting better at understanding, because I'm also wildly sensitive to the energies around me, people and the earth, and changes in the earth and changes in the air, and the moon is insane for me, especially the new moon just throws me way off balance. We talked about this. And so I clear myself so frequently, I don't know if I really notice anything specific anymore, because it's just a part of my diet. It's a part of what I do, right? It's like prayer. It's an everyday type of thing. And it's one of those things that, like, just because I have lots of energy doesn't mean I'm not going to have supper. Like, it's something that you have to continue to do. It's like prayer, right? It's like, yeah, I may not be thirsty, but my body still needs water.
Right.
Right. So I think what happens lots of times with healing and clearing energy, we get caught up in feeling good and forgetting that there's still maintenance involved, right? And so darkness as itself, just as an energy, it isn't typically harmful in that sense, aside from looking or getting into attachments, beings, entities, things like that, right?
Yeah. So in terms of attachments and beings, how do you see them? How do you notice them? Like let's start with you first. How do you notice them? And then I guess my second question would be, how would other people recognize them, or how have you found some of the most common things people have said in your clearings?
Well, the way that ceremony works is it's really kind of guided, question specific almost. So if something comes up through question, right? Because I don't do, as you know, like, I don't do a lot of really very, very minimal interaction with the person prior to ceremony. So I don't really know what they have going on until I go into ceremony to connect. And so okay, so I'll try to think of a way to explain this to process. Like, okay, like, say I'm in ceremony for you doing a healing, clearing, and does Ginette have any darkness attached to her? Yes. Is this darkness within the space of her home as well? Yes. Is this darkness an entity or being of any kind? And for the sake of this, the answer could be yes, right? And so it might be, is this entity or being of a lower vibration? Yes. Is this entity or being harmful? And most times it's not. Most times it's not harmful in that way. Lots of times it's a being or entity or an attachment that's really just managed to be trapped through timelines or dimensions. And most times they're just burdensome. So they are more attracted to your light than anything. And so lots of times that's where you feel a draw on your energy, on your light within the space of your home. Something's just off. But it's not they're deliberately trying. Most are not malicious. Most are not there to deliberately harm you or hurt you or any of those things. Really, most are not. And then, of course, like, I mean, humans are the same way. You get the one or the odd one that is there to disrupt things further for you, or right. But most are just lost or traveling, and are drawn to your light and end up drawing from your life force, right? So
and so that would probably be something that people would notice, is this like draw of energy, like that life force core energy, even though diet is good, water is good, emotions or life is technically good. Right?
Like, when you can step back and think about your train of thought, you can track your day, everything, your bills, your life. Like, there's not really anything you're overly focused on that's causing you to feel this way, aside from like medical issues or things that sometimes we have to dig into to get to the bottom of. But energy wise, spirit wise, for the sake of the conversation around this work, lots of times it's that, and it's just, you just feel, I know you know what it feels like to feel like your life force is just being drained, sucked out of you, right? And maybe it's not fair to say lots of times, but it's common that could be what it is.
What it is.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and so what we do then, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and so the process of clearing that would just be to usher them back into, sometimes we have to check for, I don't know how wild this is going to sound, but I mean, listen to what we're already talking about. Portal or a gateway or an entrance or exit point somewhere within the home or on the property, and usher them back. And it's always to the light. It's always to the light. All of it, clearing darkness. It's always about transmuting energies, breaking down pillars, cutting cords. All of it is always getting transmuted back into the light, into the light, into the light. So even a lower frequency or lower vibration being or entity that may have found itself attached to you and drawing from you, again, with clearing that, it's always back to the light, to the light, to the light. Not back where you came from or anything like that. It's always, back to the light.
Yeah. And do you find that in most of your interactions with those energies too, they truly are desiring, even underneath it, to get back to the light themselves anyways? Like it's rooted in them? Yeah.
It's innate. And there, of course, there are, but again, that is in the human experience as well. Of course, there are beings and that are not, that are more malicious. They have ill intent. There are those, but you will feel that. You'll feel that. You will know that.
Yeah. So here's a thought for you, because we talk about this often, but like, do you feel, I mean, I know my idea on this, but does love always win?
Love?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? What are your thoughts?
I agree. And I do think love always wins. I think love to me has continually transmuted fear energies, negative energies. And the more I fall into love and trusting love energy, and I'm talking about the energy of the entirety of love, right? Not just romantic love, child, parent love, but like love, the energy that permeates all things. The more that I trust that, the more that I see how powerful it is. But my next question with that is, when we look at the world today, right now, there's so much dark showing itself or dark being revealed, which makes people really question that saying, does love win? Because there's a lot of people who feel really overwhelmed and burdened by everything going on, from war to potential food shortages, to illness, to stock market crashes, to everything, right? And so where do you see love fits in all of that to you?
Well, it's not within any of those questions. So I think anytime you're inside of that, and this is where it gets tricky in the human experience, is having those living realities that are near, I mean, they're undeniable because they're taking place. But existing in that same space, whether through thought or conversation, is taking you outside of love. Right? It's the difference of someone being sick and only talking about, and everybody around them only talking about how sick they are, as opposed to talking about lighter, lovelier, kinder, more. It's about not getting caught in what we believe to be the living reality in the material, physical world. It's about not getting caught in that. And it's so easy to draw in an argument and be like, well, but, well, what about, well, well, of course, that is where, okay, now you're just playing in the mud, like, have fun, play in the mud. But there's the sun shining, there's all of these other things that you can work to acknowledge to. And it's not about ignoring things or pretending like things aren't happening, but you can find ways to contribute to the light within those darker spaces and those living realities. Right? I'm not, it's not, I don't think it's always fair. And I don't think it's definitely always easy to talk about or to preach gratitude or be grateful, even if you can find one thing to be grateful for every day. I think that can be it can almost be condescending sometimes for people who are just drowning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so unfair to try to suggest that changing your thinking or changing, oh boy, who's that?
This is my cat Kuma. She's meowing. She's like, let me up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Changing your thinking or choosing your thoughts, I think I think it can come off as condescending sometimes, but it's just very important to try to find the difference between what feels good through thought and what doesn't, and not living in those muddy waters where you have to pay attention to what the mind is trying to do, what the mind is drawn to, and how fast it wants to pull you into the living reality. It's not that the mind is against you. It's not that the mind is trying to keep you down, but the mind, the human brain, the job of the human brain is to adjust and adapt to current circumstance, to find balance in current circumstance, to create solve problems, to create logic, right? That is the human brain. And so when you're in a living reality, it's hard to deny what's taking place or to step outside of that and circle back to love and to try to move through the space of love. It's a tough thing because it, like I say, the living reality, it's just undeniable, and people are suffering, and the human experience is very trying, and it's very difficult, and it's hard to maneuver through, and especially as you become an adult, because now you're parenting yourself, and I 100 bazillion% believe that love is only just one thing. I don't believe that there are, and I think that love wins. Your internet connection is unstable. That's the power of love.
Right? It's so powerful. It's going to mess up the internet. I think that's a beautiful statement, though. And I love your explanation of it, of validating the reality. It's not about creating a false reality, that false positivity idea. Yeah. But again, it's coming back to consciously choosing. And so if you allow yourself to, explore what is happening and say the current shitty situation, but also then explore, well, what can you learn from this? What can you hold on to in this experience? And choosing.
Yeah, and track what is essentially ego, but mind is trying to do. Track what it is trying to do, because it is very difficult to live. When you're a kid, it's everything. Hopefully, it's not always the case because of life and life circumstances. But when you're a kid, there's nothing that is outside of the realm of possibility. Everything is possible when you're a kid. Everything, your imagination is what rules, right? And over time, we condition and program each other and ourselves, and life programs and conditions us how to react and how to behave and all of these things through life. And this is reality, and suck it up, and all of these things that harden and misshape us. It's hard, and the ego and the mind wants to say, well, yeah, that's fine, live in la la land, trying to pretend like this isn't happening, but I have bills to pay. Yeah, of course you can acknowledge that, but there is a higher frequency thought or vibration that can accompany that exact same reality that won't feel as bad, right?
Yeah.
The way we talk about things, like I said, the way we talk about illness, the way we talk about world events, the way we talk about war, the way we talk, the things we give our attention to, all of those things fuel those things. If love can make a difference, I mean, darkness can make a difference. If hate can make a difference, love can make a difference. It's always these things. It can make a difference. So just pay attention to where you're putting your attention.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it don't, and not to be an ass, but just don't be lazy in thinking that just the way that you think is the one way and the right way to think. Challenge the way that you think. Challenge who you are and how you think and why you think this way and why you believe that. Challenge yourself to figure out why it is you are the way that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not an easy task, but it's not fair to your journey just to accept that I believe this and then not have an answer for it. You're not
Mm-hmm.
curious why that made you mad. You're not curious why it made you mad. You know what I mean? You're not curious why you don't dislike that thing or you don't agree with that thing that doesn't make you curious. All of those things make me curious. When I get upset, when I get angry, something bothers me. When I have an off the cuff opinion about something, I question myself why. It makes me curious. I would like to know myself and understand, why. I mean, I think that's the only way you can really create difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is by acknowledging uh, who you are and the path that you're on. Try to dig down into some of your purpose,
I love that.
and you will find that love is really at the tip of it all.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. So, with that, where do you see the ascension of humanity? I mean, I've talked about a lot of this on different podcasts. I'm so curious your perspective of it. Where's humanity going? What, like how fast do you feel humanity is getting there? Are they getting there? What's your observations in the realms that you walk? Because you walk different realms. You are not just on this planet to just be 3D on this planet. Like you are here, but also connected to many realms at the same time, right? Like you are just very multifaceted. So that's why I'm curious. What's your opinion?
Of where we are,
Where we are and where we're going. What do you see for humanity?
someone texted me the other day. Well, is this? Do you believe this is hell?
This is hell.
Talking about Earth,
Yeah.
but again, that comes back to the singular human experience. Oh yeah, it's hell, of course. If it's hell for you, then it's hell. I can't talk you out of that. What am I going to say? I don't believe it's hell. I don't believe anything near that it's hell. I think, like I said last time we spoke, that we're continuously being given, and this is not just new, opportunity to rise above. We're continuing to give these being given these offerings to rise above, to come together, to find balance and harmony and community and again in love. I think that the more I feel like community, curiosity, interest, people honoring their nudges into and around spaces and conversations like this, I think that's a great sign that, because it's always, of course, humanity and like the idea of like the collective ascension is a beautiful thing, but we have to remember to always it starts with one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It all starts with one. And the beautiful thing is that we're always just one collective thought away from that living reality, right? We're all just one collective thought away from that living reality, but it starts with one. It starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with each one of us doing the work. And like I said, about challenging the way that we think. Never mind getting into arguments about differing opinions with somebody else about religion or things that you dislike or that real low vibe nonsense. Challenge yourself. That's where growth comes from, is challenging yourself. And I think that So to answer your question, I think the best way to say it is that we're just one collective thought away from that living reality. But it starts within, it starts with one, it starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with your household, one by one by one. It starts with each interaction that you have, one by one, with how you leave people at the grocery store, with how you rub people the wrong or the right way in every interaction throughout your day, of how you leave a phone call with a loved one. And that's how it all starts, is that way. And so as far away as it may seem, for some, we're just as close, right? We're just as close. It's all in perspective and understanding. It could be in the snap of a finger. As quick as you think that things have gone south, they could go the opposite way. Right? And to me, that's the power and that's the intention of divine source, of love, of creator, is in the snap of a finger. Everything that you hope and wish for could be, but you have to put in some work, challenge yourself, challenge the people around you to see themselves, and not in an ignorant, look at yourself kind of way, but in a gentle, insightful, well, why do you think that way? Why don't you want that? What is it about that you dislike? Have normal, nice, kind, gentle conversations with people. Help people challenge the way that they think, and do the same for yourself. Have that same accountability to yourself.
That's so
Think
true.
about how beautiful it is to think that you can walk around during the day thinking that, man, I could completely contribute to the hope that everyone feels in their belly every night before they go to sleep, or that one thing that everybody's trying to cling on to make it through another day. I could contribute to that in the best way.
That's awesome. That's so inspiring. And I really like that. And I love that you pointed out to how not just sending that outward, but also sending that to self, because I think sometimes it's easier to be kind outwardly to other people, but it's harder to turn that personal kindness from self to self on.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're mentioning that, because I think that is so important at the very core for all the
It's not
shifts.
easy. Yes. And it's not easy to parent ourselves. We turn at whatever age, hopefully for most of us, sadly, it's not the case, but ideally, we turn 18 or 17 or somewhere in there. And now for the most part, we're out in the world and we're maneuvering and trying to figure out our way, and parenting with the back rubs and with the coddling and nurturing. A lot of that stops. Sadly, horribly sadly, for so many, it stops far, far younger. And for some, they never get it. And so to parent ourselves is a very difficult thing, to hold ourselves accountable and to love ourselves and to take a bath instead of pushing a little bit further to try to drive ourselves to success, or, to push, to create the space for self-nurturing and self-kindness and having a treat without guilt or shame, or to do the things that you would do for you if you were parenting you as a small child. All of those things that you want and that you need and your inner world needs, and to bring your inner world to blossom and flourish, we have to do that for ourselves as much as you do that for your children. You have to do that for your inner child. It's not an easy thing, and it's not an easy thing to be aware of. So many of us are not taught that way, to be that way. It's, sadly, it's suck it up, stop crying, work, right? And we're all just, what are we chasing? What are we chasing by all of the time that we put into things to create this future? It's a sense of freedom. How are you ever going to be free from whatever it is that you want to be free from if you can't even completely love yourself and the time you spend with self and celebrate yourself and all of those things? You're going to be chasing your tail for the rest of your time.
But I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful advice. And I think we can just leave it there for today. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, Kevin, and sharing your insights and your understandings, and really leaving your mark on the world and inspiring others to find and embody theirs.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, absolutely. So For everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to connect with Kevin, you can do so at avalonspirit.com, as well as kevinsemeniuk.ca. Did I get that right?
Yes.
.ca. Last time I got it completely wrong.
Yes.
For many things, many of his offerings as well, from his room spray, which is like a liquid smudge, to his beautiful books that he has written, inspirational stories, poetry, and then of course your healing services, which are just tremendous. And anyone that has had that opportunity to have a clearing from you, just they go on and on about how transformative it was. And I know I can say the same too, because you have done many for me, which I always have a big impact. So definitely check that out, you guys. And we will see you guys next week.
See you. Thank you, Ginette.